Okay, so I've got lots of different objects here. I want to start assigning materials to them, but the way that materials are assigned to these different objects is going to vary quite a lot depending on the object. So I've selected the floor there, which you can see over in the modify panel is just a plane. So it's a simple surface. And I suppose with each of these, what I'll do is isolate them. So when you right click, you can go to isolate selection and see just that object. So it makes it much easier to see what it is. There's nothing to it, it's a plane. And well, you can see my background there. I might just turn that off so that you don't get confused there, and I'll turn it back on and I'll show you how to do that. So I'll turn that off while I'm at it. And I'll just check that I don't have it in my environment either. And so one last thing, just make sure I've got it here. Okay, so...
Why do you isolate it?
Oh, just so you can see what it is. So I'll exit the isolation. When you're assigning materials, normally you wouldn't have to isolate it, but it doesn't hurt if you want to check to see what you've got. So now I want to assign a material to it. So in the material editor, I actually do have a material that I've got for that object already, but I'll go and make one again from scratch. And so this is something I think I showed you last week, but it's worth showing it in a slightly different way, because here I started with a scene that wasn't set up in Mentor. So it didn't give me a bunch of Arc and Design materials to begin with. It's got a standard material there. The ones that I've already made are all Arc and Design, but this one isn't. But it's easy to change it just by clicking on the button there. I think I showed you last week mainly using Get Material. So that gets a new material. The difference with this option is that it changes the current material. Now either way it wouldn't matter because this material isn't being used by anything anyway. But it can be handy, say if you've got a material that's not the right type but you want to keep that name, you've assigned it to some things in your scene already, but you want to change it instead of getting a new material, you've got that option there. So it gives you the same options, and here in the Mentor category I've got Arc and Design, and then I can simply use a template to start with. So there's a wood, glossy varnish wood will be fine there. Okay, so double clicking there, you can see the material. I think I showed you this one last week. And it's not a bad idea, in fact it's a really good idea to assign it right away. So clicking there, the plane's changed colour, but I can't see the image of the timber there because this option here isn't on. It shows standard map in viewport. Once that's on, then you can see the image. But you can see there, way too big. So we've got to sort out the scale. Right, so there are two ways you can set the scale. You can either use a real world map size or not. Basically, they're the two options. So here you can see in my plane, it's got the option to use real world map size. Some objects can generate the mapping automatically, and this is one of them. Most of the primitives give you the option of having mapping coordinates generated. So it's on, mapping coordinates are there, but it's not set to real world map size, so I'm going to tick this. And you can see now the size has changed, but again, it's still not right. And that's because as well as turning it on in the object, you've got to turn it on in the material. And it's not in the material itself, it's in the map. So in the map there, now clicking the M button there next to the colour swatch is just a quick way of getting to the diffuse map, which you can see down here in general maps is set to something else. And there are actually two, so the bump map is using something as well. So it's worth, especially at first when you're getting used to it, having a look down the bottom at all the map slots and see which ones are being used. Sometimes you can tell from the options like this up here, but you won't always see all of them. So it's worth having a look down the bottom and seeing exactly which maps are being used, especially if it's a material you're not familiar with. And then and check out the settings. So here, clicking on that map slot, you can see that my coordinates don't have this option, use real world map scale. Now, I will give you an example in a moment where you may not want to use real world map scale. In fact, the next one I'll do that. But this one, definitely, real world map scale should be on. And it's a fairly simple one to understand. What it means is you're putting in a size in the standard unit of measurement, in this case millimetres, for the image in the scene. So this photo of timber, it's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planks. So if I want each plank to say be 200 mil across, probably a bit big, but close enough. That means this would be 1200 across. And it's about twice, maybe a little bit more high as it is wide. So if it's 1200 across, probably be about 3 metres this way, or something like that. So I'll try out those settings. So for the size here, width, 1200. And then height, about 3000. And you can see right away in the scene, that's the size of the image, so the boards are relatable size. You might say, well, okay, they're still a little bit wide, so you can make the image smaller. So it's 1200 wide, let's try 1000 wide, and then maybe 2500 or something for the height. So that looks okay. So for materials like that, as a general rule of thumb, anything that's a repeating texture, especially building materials and those kinds of finishes, generally real world map size is the option to use. Probably most of the materials that have maps that you'll be using, you'll be able to use real world map size. Okay, now I've done the diffuse map, and then I've got to check the bump map. Now it's a little bit more complicated, because you'll see when I click on this map, it just takes you to another panel where there are 2 maps. So you've got to check both of those. Now the noise, clicking there, you can see there's no option for real world map size. What this does, and just so you can see, when you are looking at the slot here, at the preview slot, it's still showing the original complete material. If you want to see just the map you're working on, you've got this option here, show end result. Turn that off, and then you can see the noise. So it's kind of a random effect. So, I mean, you could change the tiling here, but I wouldn't worry. It's a bit too fiddly, and it's not really going to make a huge difference. Going back to the parent, so just back to the level where I had the 2 maps being combined in this mix map, the one I do want to change is the one there that's using a JPEG. They're usually the ones to keep an eye on. Anything that's using an image, it definitely should change. But you can see here, miraculously, real world map scale is turned on, and it's set to the size I put in for the diffuse map. So what that means is the person who set this up was sensible and made them linked. And you can even see that in the tree here. So this map here, and that's the one I changed before, they're bold, which tells you that they're linked. So that can make life much easier for you, but you still need to check. So anyhow, that's now going to work reasonably well. So most materials that use maps are like that. You've got to check the size of the map, and it won't be set up for you, mainly because it's set up for Americans. They work in feet and inches, and it works for them out of the box, but using metric, you've got to go and check the size, unfortunately. So that's real world map scale, and I'll do a few more examples with that in a moment. But now I want a material for this picture here. So it's a box. Now, have I shown you how to break apart a box? Yeah? No? Okay, so I'll show you that. So at the moment, this is all one object. And again, I'll just isolate so you can see what it is. So it's just a box. Now, have I done this already? I think I've just used mesh select, but yeah, definitely just a box. Okay, so I'm going to right click and then go down to convert to, and then editable poly, which I've done before, I think, for other things. And that means I can select individual faces. So I can select this surface here because I want this to be a simple picture, like a post, like one of those mounted poster type prints, where there's a picture on this surface and then the rest of it's just like a box frame that's black or something. So this can be one material and the backing board can be another material. So a simple way of doing that is to get to the polygon on that surface and then detach it. So you've got an option down here to detach that polygon, and so I'm going to tick, so make sure nothing's ticked there, and I'm going to call this picture, and then the thing that I'm left with I'll call picture frame. So I've got two objects now from that box. I'm still in polygon, remember, so to select the front piece there, I've got to go back to the top of the stack here, and now I can select either that one. I'll just go to shaded so you can see, so I can select either the surface, which is the picture, or the back, which is the frame. So there, or there. So now I want to assign the materials to them. And so the back's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to have a black plastic type thing, so I can just select a new sample slot, standard. I'll just use Icon Design again, and all I'm going to change here is the colour to a darker colour. Assign it, and I suppose I could give it a name, black plastic, something like that. But the front is a bit more involved, so I want to assign a picture to that. So it's just a plane. The mapping should be pretty straightforward, but you need to make sure you use a different option. You can't use real-world map scale, and you'll see why in a minute. So firstly, I'm going to use an Icon Design one again, just so that we're always using Icon Design, because I think most of the materials that you make could be Icon Design. It's an excellent material. It can do lots of different things. So I've got this grey plastic, and right away I'm going to replace the diffuse map, and I'll use the shortcut this time, just clicking on the little button next to the colour, and I'm going to make it a bitmap. And I chose noise there. Oops. Now I could remove it, or just like the material, to change it into a different kind of map. Sorry, there we are. You can click on the type button here, just like I have been to change the standard materials into Icon Design. And now it's going to be a bitmap. So I've actually got an image here that I could use, or I can go into one of my other folders, and I've got plenty of other images. You can tell I was down in Melbourne just recently for the Austrian, or whatever it was, exhibition. Well, you'll see in a minute. So, got a whole bunch of Klee stuff somewhere. Anyhow, thought it was all in here. Don't know what I've done with it. Oh, there we are. Oh, Klimt, sorry, not Klee. Klee was another one. Anyhow, so I can use any of these images. I've got more, but maybe, yeah, just go for one of these. So that's the image I want as my picture. So, open. Double clicking there on a sphere, it's a bit hard to tell what's going on. But if you change the preview shape to a box, you can see exactly what's going on. On each surface, there's one copy of this image. So on each side of the box, that image fits exactly. So that's called a tiled material as opposed to using real-world map scale. So what it's doing is saying on each surface, I just want that whole image. I don't care what the size is. And in the case of a material like this, that makes more sense than setting a size, because you don't want to have to go and check the size of this plane every time you assign a new material. So, so here, the diffuse map's assigned. I'm going to assign that material, and I'm going to make sure I can see it. Now I've got to flip the normal. So it's, I think, just the viewing angle. Let's have a look here. I know I played with these before, but so I shouldn't have to do this. But I suppose it is good for you to see. Sometimes if you don't see a surface that you think should be facing towards you, you can check the normal direction. And did I go past flip here? Yes, I did. No, it's facing the right way. Okay, going to go up a level. Why can't I see that? Oh, the mapping, sorry, I haven't checked the mapping. Okay, so it's assigned anyway, but I can't see it there. Probably because of the mapping. So before, I could just turn it on in the object properties, but not all objects have that. So I think I showed you this last week. Quite often you've got to use UVW maps, which will assign it regardless. And so there you can see I've got a plane that's not at the right angle now. I could orient it, but the other option is just to use box. Still should be able to see that now. Let's have a look in here. Okay, it's just that viewport. I'll just set it to not use hardware shading. I think it's messing it up. There we are. Okay, so I think it probably would have worked without the UVW map anyway. Yeah, it was just the lighting throwing it off. But again, you can see here with the UVW map, really important that that's turned off. If that was on, you can see it throws the mapping out. So that's got to be off. Real world map size in any mapping that you've got for your object, and also in the map itself, where it's not called real world map size, it's real world map scale, but basically it's the same thing. And just to go back, so instead of setting the material, the map size in millimeters or something like that, you set tiles. So here it's 1 and 1. If it was 2 and 2, that'd be 2 in each direction. But it starts it from the center. Okay, so if you want it to start from the corner, you've got to offset it by a half. Oh, sorry, in this case it's half of a half, so it's by a quarter. Okay, so you can see there with 2 and 2, we've got 2 in each direction, so we've got 4 together. And it does make sense for lots of materials, not just, the obvious one is billboards and signs and things like that. But if you think about it, lots of things, coffee cup, TV screens, faces of computers, facades of buildings, lots and lots of things, fruit, vegetables, they're just some things I can think of off the top of the head or I've had to do it. Stoves, fridges, lots of things. It makes more sense to use tiling than to set a size.
So, Debbie, how did you get to bitmap?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I made a mistake, so I changed it to bitmap after I'd assigned it. But I'll just show you from scratch. I put it in the diffuse map slot. So clicking on that button there, if it's blank, I'll just do it again from scratch, so I'll clear it. So clicking there, it'll prompt you for a map type. And so I should have chosen bitmap. But even if you don't, you can change it to that afterwards. And so what that actually does is puts it into this slot down here in your in your general maps, you've got a diffuse colour slot, and that's what it assigns it to. So that's really what it's doing. So I can see it there in the other place as well. So now I can't see it again, so I'll just try turning this off and on. There we are. Now it maybe is a little shiny. So going back to the sphere, you can see the highlights a bit more, and so there, you'd want it to be probably less reflective, but also less glossy, which will at first spread out that reflection, but that's actually what I want, because when it becomes spread out enough, it's less intense. So at first it can be a bit scary when you reduce the glossiness, because you think, oh, I'm trying to reduce that highlight, which is quite small there, but then as it comes down, it becomes larger. But you've got to remember, as it's becoming larger, that intensity is spreading out more and more as it becomes less and less glossy, and eventually you'll get something that's, you still want a little bit shiny, but not with an obvious, shiny spot. Or specular highlight, I should say, is the right term for it. Okay, so that's a good example of a material that uses tiling instead of a map size. And I'll do some more of those in a moment, but also wanted to show you something that ties into what you've done already with the revolving door. You would have assigned a multi-sub object material, but it was one that you wouldn't have made. So I'm going to show you how to make one. So here I've got this bifold door, and I've got some other doors in the scene as well, but I'll start just with that bifold. Back in the material editor, you might remember in that exercise, they asked you to open the AEC templates library to get those door and window templates. Okay, so really all they are is something called a multi-sub object material. And so I'm just going to show you what they are. Just get material here, and then you'll see here multi-sub object. And so a multi-sub object material, it's like a lot of other materials in Max. It's not really a material in and of itself. You'll see here you've got the option to set a number, and that's the number of sub-materials. So I'll just take this down to something like 3, just so you can see less slots. So you can see each of these slots is the same, and in each of those you can put any material. So I could put the one I've just made there. An instance usually is fine. You can put the other one I made, the black plastic there, and then why not put the other one I made to begin with next to it. So what this new multi-sub object material is really is a combination of those 3 materials that I've made. Alright, so that means that I can assign this material to something that needs to use all 3 of those materials. So in the case of a door, that's going to happen quite often when you've got glass especially. So that door...
Blend together, or is it all
separate? No, separate. So to separate parts of the object you can have different materials. It's important with something like a door because obviously you've got the glass part, glass panel, and then the frame would be a different material, and the door jamb might be yet another material. And so this lets you assign those different things without breaking the object up. I mean, you can always, with anything in Max, you can always convert it, just like I did to the picture frame, convert it to an editable poly. And then you can break it up by selecting all the different parts. But normally, you won't want to do that because, you've got this door and it's got all sorts of handy properties like the opening amount, so I can open these doors really easily that way, and I can change other properties as well without destroying the door. So what you'll see, I'll just go to another empty slot here. When you open those templates, I'll just close this. Oh, no, I'll leave that, sorry. So I'll just go here, open material library, and so when you're looking for them at home, they'll be in the C drive in your program files folder. and then Autodesk, and then 3ds Max, whatever version you're using, 2011 in this case, and then material libraries, and that's where you'll find all the default libraries. Okay, so this is the one I'm after, AEC templates. So you can see what it gives you is a material for all the main AEC objects. So windows and doors and walls are the main ones, but also stairs and railings are there. So I'll need the door one, and I'll need the window because I've got some windows there as well. And I've got walls, but I don't need the wall template because I'm going to assign just a single material for that, so I won't worry about that. Because I've got door template and window template. And notice how they both have 5 material slots. And these are all set up for different parts of, in this case, the door. So you've got to use your judgment to work out what the names mean, but this one here is called front, then back, inner bevel, frame, inner door. And also it helps if you look at the preview slot. So you can see this one's kind of transparent. So that gives you an indication that the inner bevel is actually the glass. So you want to leave that there for the time being. Also, you can, if you want to, label the parts here. So it doesn't hurt if you can think you're going to forget to call that bit glass, because once you assign your own material here, it won't be called inner bevel anymore.
You've got the blue square in your image highlighted, so
Yeah.
why isn't it changing over?
I haven't assigned it yet, so I'll assign it now. So it's and you can always tell if the material's assigned because you'll have the triangles in the corner there. So these 3 here are assigned, but the others aren't. So I'll assign it now, and you can see right away the inner bevel part is transparent because there's this basic material already assigned that's clear.
Could you assign it by dragging out?
Absolutely, yeah, sure. So I can drag it off the other one right now. No problem. Yeah. So that's okay, but it looks well when you render, at best ordinary. It's not a very good material on its own, and it's not meant to be. It's just given to you to help you assign your own materials. Okay, so this material is looking okay, but the door looks rubbish. Okay, so I'm going to assign my own materials now. So I'll go to yet another slot that isn't being used, change it from standard to Arkham Design. And again, just using the templates, I'm going to choose this time glass thin geometry. And now to use it in my door template material, I've got to go to it so I can see its different slots. And just so you know, the way it works is with these material IDs, so never change those numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're set up in the door.
What?
In the door itself. So the door geometry has different numbers for the different parts. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Later on you'll see you can assign all these things yourself, but with a door that's been pre-made for you, you've got to go with the numbers they've used. So, so the glass that I've made there, I can now drag it from here onto that inner bevel. Instance, you can see over here that's changed now, and in my scene that will have changed. So I've got some materials that I made earlier, this yellow, I'll just grab that and put it here. So this is just an Arkham Design material where I've set the colour previously, and so now, back in the door template, I'm just going to assign that to everything else apart from the glass. I'm happy for the door jambs and everything to be the same colour as the doors.
And you know how you've got to assign a mouse before you can drag it in to one of those 5 slots?
Yeah.
Can you just assign it in there as a brand new?
Oh yeah, this you mean this material?
I know the 5 slots.
Yeah.
Can you just sort of double click on it and then create it in there, or do you have to have it?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, sure. So you can, yep, absolutely. Click here
Yeah.
and then change the settings. Yeah, yeah. Um, and so say you've done it that way, and then you want to copy it to the others. You can actually drag it from here down to the slot below, and copy it that way.
And what's the difference between instant and
Oh, so instance, it's an instance. In other words, it is always going to have the same settings, no matter where it is. So,
is that like an extra or if you change?
kind of, yeah, like a block almost.
So if you change the original level,
Exactly, yeah.
so it copies them.
No, it's unlinked. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So here, if I change this material, I'll do it now. So I'll change this to a like a lighter, like almost a cream. So you can see now, all of these colours have changed.
That looks cooler as a sphere.
It does, yeah.
If only everything in the design was made of just spheres.
Well, it just shows you why curves are taking off. Curves can look,
Oh, sensing.
yeah, yeah.
That's why Maxwell designed the curves.
Yeah. Well, they were. I don't know what they're thinking with the new iPhone.
Yeah.
They're saying they're going to go back to curves. So fingers crossed. I'm on the waiting list for the new one. So
I liked I had an original Mini, the metal casing ones that were, that was pink.
oh, so I thought you meant. Oh, yeah, sure,
Like,
sure.
they were sexy, but I
Yeah.
had curves, so I asked them for cheap.
Yeah.
So, no, I think, oh, I didn't even say iPod, sorry. Like the original mini iPod.
Oh, mini iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh my god, sorry, I can barely preface that sentence with anything. The context is good to my point.
Okay, so I'm just looking for the wall material. Oh no, before I do that, I should probably finish assigning to the door. So I've got another door here, and it can simply have the same material, and automatically it's going to pick up all the same assignments. Now, I've got a couple of windows here, so to make it the same as the door, unfortunately you've got to drag all the same things onto it, but it doesn't take long. Except I've gone and dragged the glass, that was clever. So that should be on panels, not on the others, and then there we are. So that way all my window and door joinery all my window and door joinery is now going to be the same.
What happens if you
Yeah.
accidentally assign one of the window templates to a door or vice versa?
It does work. It works, yeah. So, because the numbers you can see are the same, so you can actually use the same tool. Alrighty, so just show you a couple of other little tricks. I don't mind this wall material, this wall colour that I've ended up with just randomly. So you can actually get that if you go to the colour selector, not there. Oh no, so I've got to go to the full palette. This here, you'd have to work out. Unfortunately, you can pick, I think, there we go, that works. So going into the colour selector, you can see there I've got the RGB values, and it's annoying, it won't let me copy this, but you can always just jot those down. You should be able to copy, if you've got the colour, I'll show you that there's a colour doc that you can use, but we'll look at that later. But anyhow, 28, 28, 177. So I'll just use that, so I don't have to think about a colour. And so I just spent too long on colour otherwise. So okay, so again, Arc and Design here, matte finish is probably, oh no, pearl finish might be better. And yeah, it won't. I'll try it actually. It may.
Oh, you didn't? You should go to the side, up on the top, into the,
To
where you, the right hand side.
oh, there, yeah, sure. Oh, good idea. I didn't even think of that. Yep. Yep. So that's got it. It's all except it translates it. So that's the other thing I was going to show you. Notice how it's yeah. It's just because of this color model being slightly different. So there is a way of converting it, but yeah, you can see when I get it in the scene, it's different again. But anyhow, you can always fine tune it. So that's pretty close. A bit too bright maybe, so I can always reduce saturation and play around with those things. And yeah, colour is one of those things you can spend hours on, so I won't fiddle around too much there. But these walls I just assigned very quickly so I can get on to the other more detailed materials. So the other wall here, just so I can show you what I did to make that paint material, I just used Arc and Design, and then the colour here. So I'm just going to use a different colour here, like for a change on the walls. So just an off-white again or something. Maybe just a little bit cream, and that value is a bit too high. Yeah, see how that goes. You've got in the list of templates there, as well as the full templates, which are things like these finishes, the wood and the concrete, which change your material completely. You've got other things that just change some of the settings. And you can actually tell when you look over here, it tells you what these different templates do. So matte finish, pearl finish, gloss finish don't change the material in a basic way. They just change those settings, whether it's matte, pearl or glossy. So pearl paint actually works pretty well. If you want matte, you can choose that as well. Glossy paint's a bit over the top. And so you can see it's kept the colour, but it's made it a little bit reflective with the background there. It's easier to see, and it's affecting the reflectivity and glossiness settings there. With matte, those get set to next to nothing, and then with glossy, they're quite high. So sometimes you want it in between, but you can go to say pearl to begin with, and then bump up the reflectivity a bit and the glossiness a little bit to make it a little bit shinier, because it's a bit dull otherwise. But you've got to watch out again with light materials. Sorry, that's way higher than I wanted it. Light materials, the glossiness sometimes gets lost in the actual material colour. Yeah. So, oh yeah, so the other ones I'm going to show you, you've got as well down the bottom, enable details enhancement and disable details enhancement. And what they do is essentially turn ambient occlusion on or off. So again, they don't affect the material in a basic way. So I'm going to do that. I want ambient occlusion for my paint material, so I'm going to assign it to this wall. And then I'm going to go back to the materials that I've used, especially for the large surfaces, and make sure it's on there. So this blue material, again, I can just choose apply details enhancement or enable details enhancement. And then the timber as well, timber floor. Again, I'm going to turn on that option down the bottom there, and you can see it hasn't really changed the material. but it will change the way it renders. So I'll just quickly do that now. And I've rendered the wrong viewport. So it might be hard to see with this much light, but because we've basically got a sunlight coming through at the moment, I don't have any lights in there yet. Okay, but I think maybe you can just see these little dark shadows in the corners. That's the detail enhancement. And it really makes a difference, especially when the light isn't so over the top. So I'll show you more of that in a minute when we get onto lighting. But you need to turn it on the materials, even though it is a shadow, not something that you'd think would be done with materials. So, so I'll just do a couple more quick materials, and then I'll give you a chance to try some of these things. So I've got their tabletop, and so I want it to have this timber that I've already got there.
What happens when you run out of thumbnails?
Oh, it doesn't matter if you go over them, as long as they're assigned to something, they're stored in your scene. So I could use this picture. I'm probably not going to change that picture. Get a new material, and just work on top of that. But it is a useful way of storing materials. So you've got the option to have either 3x2, 5x3, or 6x4. But essentially, there are always 24 slots. It's just that you can't see them all the time. If you choose, say, 5x3, you get bigger previews, and you just need to scroll to see the others. So there are always 24 slots there, even if you've got 3x2. Again, big slots, but you can just scroll to find the others.
So why would you run over the top of your example of
The picture, because like you said, I might have run out of slots. I might have more than 24 materials in this scene.
yeah.
So to work on it in here, I can go over this. It's going to leave the material on the object. And so by having it assigned to the object, you've stored it in the scene. So the basic rule is, in any scene, you can have as many materials as you have assigned to all your objects, plus 24, stored in a scene file. So all the materials assigned, plus you could have, if you want to, 24 materials in this material editor that aren't assigned to anything. So it's a really good way of storing materials, because when you put materials in a library, they're not stored in the scene file. And so if you want to take a file, from one place to another and keep the materials that you've been working on, just make sure they're in the material editor. So, so I want to assign to this table. So I've got this timber material that I made earlier. It's just an Arc and Design material, but I've used a different map. And so all I did, very simple, is in the bitmap properties, I chose a different image for the timber. And so even on the P drive here, we've got hundreds of these, and you'll find even more on your own computers that come with 3ds Max, and also a lot come with Revit in the Autodesk Material Library. There are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of them. But do a search in Google, you'll find even more. These are just the low quality ones. So that image there is, if you look at its properties, well, it doesn't tell us here, it should say somewhere. 300 by 200, which is pretty low. To get the really good ones, if you'll see in the really professional renders, they have just perfect, beautiful timber and other materials. Just so you know, if you're wondering how they get those, you've got to pay. Arrowway is a company that makes some really good ones, and it's about $300-400 for a pack of about 10 images or something. Yeah, I know. Oh, it does. They have these huge labs where they get materials laid out, and they take these huge, beautiful high-res photos. And actually, there's more like 10,000 by 15,000 or something pixels, and perfectly flat. It's really hard to get them that big and that flat because there's no perspective in them whatsoever. So they've got huge plates, and yeah, it's really tricky.
It's still incredibly low.
Yeah, I know. Well, they sell them all around the world. You know, thousands of people buy them. That's just the way it is. There's a demand for them, I suppose. And they are beautiful, really, really well made. But the ones that come with the program are pretty good, and you'll find lots on the net that are pretty good as well. And like I said, I've put hundreds on the P drive as well that you can use. So any image you can use, but you want to go for the flat ones like this, generally. So that's all I've done. It's just an Arc and Design material where I've used that template, the timber or the wood template. I think I used the satin one for this one, and then changed in the map to a different image. So you can see here I've got the table, and it might look like it's all one object, but it's actually not. You can tell if it's bold over here and you've got no properties, that means it's a group. So on the group menu there, go to open. It's kind of like a block. You can open and close them. And then now I can select this object. It's just a box. Real world map size is turned off, and that's what I want. So I'm going to assign that. So you can see I've got this timber, but it's far too big. But I don't want to have to work out how big the map should be. I just want to say, okay, I want it repeated twice in each direction. So back in the map, again here, tiling is the best way rather than real world map size. So 2 and 2. That's not too bad. Oops, sorry, not 1.02, 2. But I probably need more going lengthways. And you can see though that once you go too far, tiling becomes obvious. So another option, as well as tiling, is to use mirror. And that can actually give you a sort of a veneer effect anyway, because veneers are often laid out like this. Probably it's a bit too small, so I can just play with the size there until I get something that I'm happy with. But if you've ever done work with veneers, that's exactly how you do them. You actually split the timber and you can open it out sometimes. I used to work with veneers. So a bit of an effect like that actually isn't a bad thing. It's something they used to strive for with the veneers. And it just looks better than tiling. When it's tiled, sometimes it's just obvious that it's repeated, so why not make a feature of it? So mirroring is another one to think about. And then the offset as well. So you can also change the position by adjusting the U and the V offset. So you would have seen me before putting the UVW map on. And so all the UVW means is the coordinate space of the material. So for normal coordinates, you use X, Y, Z. And for material coordinates, you use UVW. Most of the time, W doesn't matter, except for one important thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But for most things, W isn't that important. It's mainly as a 2D space. So U and V are mainly what you work with. So increasing the U value moves it one way. Increasing the V value, it moves it the other way. So the only other thing is W, which you may not think you would use at all, but there's one important thing you use it for, and that's rotation. Because rotating around the W axis rotates the U and V plane. Okay, so if I wanted it at 90 degrees to what it is, I could just type that in. Alright, so anyhow, I'm going to just fine tune that a little bit. So back in here, at that angle, it's not really going to be noticeable anyway, but we'll still see it. And then just to finish this off, I'll put some quick materials onto the legs there. So there again, just cylinders, nothing complex there. And again, just using Arc Design. There's a chrome preset. And why can't I see it? There it is, metals, chrome. That easy. Might not look like chrome there, but once you see the background, it does. If it's too reflective, you can adjust that. And it does work if you just apply a glossy finish over the top of it. But then you need to come back and increase the reflectivity. But another one to try is satin metal. And it's actually not a bad material. Okay, so I'll get out of isolation mode, and so the only things I need to assign material to are these other chairs, or all the chairs.
Did you design that?
Yeah. Everything there I made. So yeah, I just can't help it. I make everything in every single scene, which makes everything take too long. But
I've got a good therapist.
yeah. It's mainly because my partner thinks she's a designer, and so she's always commenting on everything, right down to vases that I put onto tables and things, which is interesting for someone who's an HR manager. But
She's one of those. I have to be 3 inches from the edge.
yeah. She's what are you doing? You've put a big glass next to a small glass, and there should be you've got to put a third one there to balance it out. And it's like off in the corner of the thing. Anyhow, it's easier just to do it, and than to argue. So anyhow, I'll go through the lighting separately, but hopefully you can get from that the way you would assign materials to most things. And also, if you're interested, there's actually a tutorial on the P drive where I've recorded the steps I used to make those little tub chairs. They're really easy. This one's a bit more involved. But anyhow, once the lighting's in there, it will look much better. Except for the chairs. I'll do that separately as well, because it's just too long otherwise.
So you said there was lots of materials on the P drive?
Oh, just images. So there's a folder called Maps and Images.
On the P.
Yeah. So you can see when you don't have materials assigned, it does render pretty quickly as well.
I kind of like this surface paper because it kind of looks like it belongs in like Barbie's house. Like the pink.
Yeah.
Just with the pink, not the design.
Yeah. No, well, I might even leave that, but also I'll probably put a leather onto it, but or just a vinyl sort of thing. Yeah, definitely once there's lighting in there, it'll be much better. So anyhow, I'll just finish that one up now. I'll give you a chance to try some of these different things.